Welcome to technical report writing. A lot of times I find that students get really hung up on the name of the course and they imagine things like budget sheets and Excel spreadsheets. So I think it's really important to start at the very beginning to give you a clear understanding of what it is we're going to be doing in this class. Technical communications tends to really trip people up, the idea that technical means technology. But that actually isn't the case anymore. The Institute of Scientific and Technical Communicators came up with what I thought was one of the best definitions of what is technical communication. And they explained that we as individuals live in these incredibly complicated and complex worlds. I don't know about you, but I can name 10 things off the top of my head that involve really complicated systems every day in my life. And you're thinking, Amy, what are you talking about? Well, it's not as simple anymore as hitting the start button on my coffee pot and coffee just comes out. My phone, no longer do I just pick it up off the cradle and answer it. Right? We have smartphones and Keurigs, and we have appliances that have television sets in them that tell us the temperature of our refrigerators. All of these things are really complicated. Things are not as simple as the on-off button anymore. And that's really what this definition is getting to, that we have to be aware that we live in these incredibly complicated and complex systems, because being able to navigate that as a communicator, and for the purposes of this course, we're going to really focus on written communication. That's that essential ingredient to success. Whether it's for a company, for a product, for a service, it doesn't matter. That ingredient, the ability to take this specialized knowledge and create an environment that is approachable for your reader and understandable, that is how we are successful now in the professional workforce. And I know some of you are still like, I still don't know that I'm following along. Let's go backwards a little bit and talk about what technical communication is not. Like you, I am trained as an academic writer. From the time we start in kindergarten all the way through our collegiate careers, we are taught to write to an academic audience. Those are the foundational skill sets that we take regardless of the industry or the type of writing that we're going to do. They're really important. We learn how to think through things, how to analyze it, how to research, how to build content based on those skill sets. And the purpose of academic writing, I think that most of us would agree, is really to showcase what it is we know. Either we know how to read the book, or we know how to analyze the article, or ask the bigger question. But that's what we're doing in academic writing. You, as the writer, may or may not know as much about your topic as your audience. Your audience to you in many ways, and his or her, the member's knowledge base is blind. Most of the time in academic writing, unless you're getting a higher level in publications and peer journals, we're talking about our teachers, and we don't necessarily know what our teachers know about our topics. So there's always kind of that iffy for us as the writer. Am I, explaining it the right way? Will my audience understand this? Does he or she know more than I do about it? And we're taught that we have to have these certain bits and pieces, things in academic writing that are required elements, like a thesis statement or a topic sentence, right? And we write an essay. We start with paragraph 1, and we write a bunch of sentences that go together, and then we start with paragraph 2, and we write a bunch of sentences that go together, and maybe we end with paragraph 10. That's how academic writing functions, and I bet that's really comfortable for you. It's certainly comfortable for me. That's what I was trained to do. We certainly, in my, academic background, didn't really use graphics, and if we did, it was very sparingly, and they were specialized circumstances. But visual aids really weren't a part of my academic writing background. But if we keep in mind this term technical means specialized knowledge, so we are writing using our specialized knowledge, things start to look a little different for us as technical communicators. The purpose of that technical writing in the professional workforce is to get something done. So maybe you are a criminal justice major and you want to work in probation. And so for you, what you might be writing are reports to the court suggesting whether or not your client is ready to transition from incarceration into everyday life. You are working towards getting an action completed, kind of in some way persuading someone to see through your report that this, your recommendation is valid and should be looked at. Maybe you are in HVAC and you have to write, you've gone out, you've done an assessment for a client, and you believe that the client really needs a whole new HVAC system. Well, that's a big blow to anyone. That's a lot of money. So you're going to have to write up maybe some type of technical, document that shows what's all is wrong with the current HVAC unit in order to get the client to recognize that it is time to buy a new system. But overall, you're trying to get something accomplished through your writing in the professional workforce. Maybe it's to increase the budget of your IT department, or to get new equipment for your, your fuel cell lab that you're working in. But you're trying to get someone to listen to whomever that might be, whether it's your client or a superior or an outside entity, in order to get something accomplished. 9 times out of 10, you as the writer are going to be the expert. That's really where this starts differing from academic writing. You know more often than not, than your reader does. And this is where students always get super excited. The writing that we do in the professional workforce, this technical specialized writing, must be clear, concise, and simple. You're going to learn that the format that we use for all different types of reports that we're going to be writing, from emails to memos to long reports, they're going to look very different from that academic essay, because we're going to be using things like headers and bullets, and we're going to definitely be looking at graphics and visual aids. So the way that it's presented on the page starts looking different, and it becomes a lot clearer to your reader, especially when we're dealing with this highly specialized information. So think about it like this. What I have for you here is an example of a statement written using the conventions of academic writing. In order to successfully compete in the ever-shrinking global marketplace, designers and architects must make conferring with the client and meeting his or her needs the single most important aspect of the proposal process. That's using the conventions of academic writing. Now, let's take a look if we use the conventions of technical writing. If we want to succeed in the global construction marketplace, we must take the time to listen to our clients and put their needs first. Go back. Academic, technical. Do you see the difference? Notice things like, we don't use a lot of fluff in technical writing. And I use the word fluff, and it's not meant to be derogatory, but I was an English major, and I know that the bigger the word, the smarter we think we sound. And oftentimes we are we're held to these word counts, and in technical writing we really value that conciseness and that clarity. We also use personal pronouns. Look at that technical example. You are oftentimes writing as a representative of your organization, your business, your field. Maybe you're writing as a fellow professional. You include yourself in that. So we've probably been told never to use the royal we, but in the workforce we absolutely do, because we're talking about us as a part of that system. And clarity is always preferred over word count. That doesn't mean that you aren't going to have parameters that are set for you in terms of pages and that type of thing, but it's not as much about how big the word is to make you sound as smart as possible, but really about the information you're presenting and how clear you are in presenting it to your audience. Remember, you're the expert. Here's the big thing that I want all of my students to take away from this conversation, is that from today forward, professionalism is key. You need to start regarding yourselves as professionals in your field, even if you are not quite there yet. Maybe you're finishing up a degree to make a transition into a new professional, field, or this is a stepping stone for you to get out of, one type of job. You're looking to move into management. But professionalism is critical to all technical communication. And the consequences can be enormous for individuals who don't keep that in mind. Let's go back to our HVAC example. If you go out and you talk to a customer, let's say I'm the homeowner, and you're trying to explain to me why I needed to buy, a whole new HVAC system, and you write up your report, and in the report you write that it's going to cost approximately, $1,000 for me to put in a whole new system. Well, of course, anybody who knows anything about HVAC knows that it's going to cost a whole lot more than 1,000. Maybe you meant 10,000. But now you've given that to me as your client, and you are going to be bound to that number. If you are writing to a judge on a regular basis and you are using text speak in your reports, you lowercase the letter I, you write the letter U instead of YOU, you are undermining your own authority. The judge is not going to take your recommendations about a client seriously when you are not conscious of how you are communicating that content to an outside force. In technical writing, I will tell you now, we do not use text speak of any sort. No LOLs, no emoticons. Those things are not appropriate in the professional workforce. We are very concerned and very aware as technical communicators, and I say we, meaning me as well as you as my students, how we are projecting ourselves, our companies, our ideas, our products, our organizations, and we're going to really start the course at the bottom level. We're going to start by looking at things like the conventions of a professional email. And what are the things that we as educators of you need to be aware of? Like, what do we need to provide you to make you professional in the workforce? So for some of you, this is going to feel really, really elementary, and I apologize, but it always behooves all of us to spend a few extra minutes refreshing our knowledge base. We're going to move from there into things like how to do an effective job search and how to write a resume. The most powerful tool that you as an individual in the job market has is the ability to write a really great resume to showcase how incredible you are, to get your foot in the door to have that interview. From there, we're going to move into kind of the expectations in the professional workforce. And then lastly, we're going to spend some time looking at what it's going to take for you to become upwardly mobile. We'd all like, a little bit bigger salary, maybe a better title, maybe want to own our own companies one day. All of these are important things that we're going to keep in mind. But the one thing I want my students to always remember is that in my course, as well as in the workforce, I hold you to the strictest standards in terms of being professionals. And I would like for you to start recognizing your own contributions as a professional in the field now too. Because as of today, you are now a technical communicator. And the expectations that are placed on us as technical communicators, they're pretty strict. So consider that as we move forward. And I hope that this helped clarify some of what we're going to be doing in class for you.